it's Annette Green here, and we are going to do some specimen cards today, specimen slides, whatever you'd like to call them. We're going to do different styles, different techniques, and using mostly my new collection with a mix of some other Elizabeth Craft Designs products and of course my new paper, Harmonious Hodgepodge. So let's get right into it. Start out with your good old vintage look, very popular. You know, I like it too. It's just that everyone's doing it. So I try to do things a little different. But for those who just really just love that vintage look, let's do one to start with that way. So I have die cut out my large postage stamp die. And rather than using the two frames that are the inner parts that come with the large one, I have grabbed the neck size down to this guy. And so you see it in there, and you can see how it cuts out here. And you can see I have taped this together because you want to cut two if you're going to have a clear look through to your specimen. So what I've done is I've cut a piece of cardstock that I want to frame this. You could just build it like this and sandwich it, but then you'd have these edges, which is fine, but I just wanted it to have a nice solid edge to it. So I cut a piece of cardstock, and this is just craft, 3 5/16 by 4 3/8 inches. So I'm going to lay this in the middle, and I'm going to trace with my pencil right in here, which I've already done. And that's basically this die right here, but I don't want to take this out of this frame. I want it to stay in the same position. So I'm going to use my craft knife, and I'm going to cut just a little bit beyond that opening, that pencil line. So you can see I only cut, you know, maybe a 1/16 of an inch beyond my pencil line. And that is so that when I go to sandwich this in here, you don't see that craft at all, you know, in here. It's kind of hidden. So we will put that aside, and we will decorate the front of one of these. Okay. And I have grabbed the CS343 script from the past from David with Elizabeth Craft Designs. I love this script font. Sorry about that noise. And I don't even think I'm going to put it on a block. I'm just going to press it right on there. So I'm working on a piece of scrap paper here, and instead of black, I think because this is going in the background, I'm going to use like vintage photo, just a basic brown. Better. Just realized I didn't have my light on. Okay, and I will just try to keep this kind of straight and press that on there. Give it a good press. You could put this in your stamp, you know, platform, but I'm not concerned about perfect stamping right now. Okay, that's cool. That would be your typical thing to do, right? And then we have a stamp set from Stampers Anonymous. This is the one that everybody uses. What is it called? Field Notes CMS 396. I'm going to use a few of those. And now I will change to black probably. And I might put that here. And I've got this one that says identification check. I might do that in red. I've got a number here, 05713. Maybe we'll put that down here. And we've got this one that says filed. That would actually be good in red as well. Let's see. Maybe we'll do this one, identification check. We'll do that in black too while we have that out, and we'll do it maybe sideways. Because why not? Why not? We'll do it this way. Okay. I had this one from Esther. This is really old. It says Specimen, and it comes from In My Garden, and I don't have the number. This is an old one. And I don't know if it's still available. But I don't know if I want it. Maybe. Well, we'll try it. We'll see how it looks. Okay, I switched to ground espresso for that one. Just a little darker. Okay. It's okay. I think I want to do red for my word filed. Let me grab some red. Stamped filed up there. Just grabbed another number, 785, because it's big. I'm gonna do this in red also, like over here. Okay, so this is kind of what we see a lot of, right? I'll grab some ink here. Okay, so we'd grab some vintage photo and ink away. Make it all distressy. Vintage. Okay, I like to do vintage photo first. And then grab the old scorched timber, which is really dark. You have to be so careful. And then I just kind of hit those outer edges with that. Ooh, it's almost black. I really have to be careful. I almost think that I prefer walnut stain still, because it looks black to me, this scorched timber. But you know, it has its usages. Whatever you prefer. Okay, so that's looking like, you know, like we see all the time. You know, and I sound like I'm knocking it. I'm not. It's just, you know, it's what everybody's doing. I want to be different. Okay, so next I take my craft one. Sorry, my camera's probably bouncing around. I have a new ring light and the camera is in it and it clamps to my table. So when my table's wiggling, that means the camera's wiggling. So, well, we don't have to ink that because nobody's going to see that. I think my vintage photo is really dry. It's nothing happening here. Okay, let's get that other scorched timber, because a little bit of this is showing, of course, beyond our specimen card. Okay, then we want this guy here, and then we want this guy in the back, but we have to get our little acetate layer in there first. So what I've done is I have laminated some things. Okay, this is the laminator that I use. It's a Scotch brand. There's a picture of it right there. And these are the laminating pouches that you would buy to go with that. You can always adhere to 2 pieces of acetate or plastic or whatever you like. I just have a laminator, so I thought I would give it a go. And so what we see here, let me find a clean, clear piece of paper here. So some of these things are from an Etsy shop. They're actually real dried flower packs that I bought, like a batch. I think I bought them on Etsy. Maybe they were on Amazon. Now I can't remember. I'll find out. I'll link below. Anyway, these nice little packs, and they're real and they're very, very, very delicate. I just have to say that. So you can use those, and that's what I've used in some of these. But then I went to Hobby Lobby and I found these in the papercraft aisle, and they looked kind of real-ish. I mean, you know, the leaf thingies are kind of flat, but otherwise they're not too bad. So I did do that here. That's that one, and I'm sure that there's quite the glare going here with this light. But there's that one up there, and did I do a pansy? I did not. I didn't care for the way that those looked for this. So I didn't use those. So most of these are the dried flowers. And then some of these are fussy cuts from my paper collection, the Harmonious Hodgepodge. Like there's my bee mixed with the real flowers. A couple of moths, a butterfly, another moth, some little flowers. So we just need to pick something for this particular vintage specimen card. And, you know, we could go very traditionally here with a very muted one. Maybe that's a good one right there. It has like a cluster. Oh gosh, so bad. It has a cluster of 3 different types of real dried flowers. So let's do that. And, you know, I did it this way in the laminator, but I want to turn it, I think, for my card. So I'm just going to cut around it at an angle, the angle that I know I want it. And I have to be careful of the other guys up there. I don't want to cut into their space. So that just kind of helps me right there, and I can cut it the rest of the way. And I'm going to grab my really skinny double-sided tape here. This is the 3mm from Elizabeth Craft Designs. I think they still carry that. I'll have to check, and if they do, I will link it below, of course. So I'm going to put it around my frame, and we can pop in my little acetate or what's it called? Lamination. Laminated piece. Okay, I just peeled up the release part of that, and I'm going to put that right there. And then we can glue this to this, and this to this. Now, did we really even need that back there? Yeah, we probably do. You could just leave it like that, but I feel like that doesn't look good. Ooh, it could be like double-sided. You could decorate both sides. Okay, well that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, that's my other side real quick. I mean, I did that in like 2 seconds. I think that'll be fun to have 2 sides. And now I'm gonna go with liquid glue for this part, just because we have all those little postage stamp edges on there. I'm gonna try to quickly dot some glue there. So this will go in the middle of this guy. Fairly centered. Okay. Put a little paper over that. Push that down. Okay. Pretty, just like, you know, like we see. I do see a little of this happening here. Am I going to be able to cover that up? Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, so we'll put this one over. Okay, and then this will go in the middle. I do have to ink around this side now with on the craft side. But okay, there you go. The traditional vintage look. And as I'm inking this and I'm looking at the back side, this won't always work for everything that you use. Like say, for example, the fussy cuts do not look very nice from the back side. It has the pattern paper, and sometimes there's a leaf back here that isn't going to work. But in some cases, like with these real flowers, these real dried flowers, they look great from both sides. So just keep that in mind if you want to do this like a 2-sided deal. Okay, there we go. There's our vintage one. Now let's see if we can make it prettier and more feminine and more colorful. Okay, this time I'm going to use some of my pretty paper from Elizabeth Craft Designs, the Harmonious Hodgepodge. And I'm just going to pick this section down here that has a little bit of floral, a little bit of leafy. And I will probably do that, you know, cardstock in between layer again. So my back piece will be this. I do want to do a couple more double-sided like that. So this is a quick way to already have somewhat of it embellished. Let's trim this extra here so we can get it through my smaller die cutter. So I just want to have a little bit of that peeking through. Okay, lovely. There's my back one. I have picked this because I know I want it 2-sided, and this is what it will look like on the back. So hopefully you can see that, and I've cut it, sort of got it started. You may wonder, like, why didn't I just laminate these, you know, into smaller pieces? But honestly, the laminator says that it's best to do everything on a whole sheet and then to cut it apart, that you get a better seal. So I'm just looking at how I trim this a little bit close right here, so I might have to patch that spot. I don't have any lamination right there. I cut it too much of an angle. So I will cut this and get that in there, and then we'll just deal with that little problem area later. I have decided to put a little butterfly here to mask that area that's going to be kind of messed up. So I've grabbed my little sideways facing butterfly from my Love and Roses stamp set with Elizabeth Craft Designs. It's CS351 Love and Roses. I've got my little butterfly there in my mini Misty, and I've got the waffle flower grip mat in the Misty because this is what I'm told we can do. We have to do a little mirror stamping, so because we're going to see that butterfly on both sides of the specimen card, like kind of showing through. So since this has one direction, I have to stamp it on both sides, but it only goes one way, so we have to do this little mirror stamping technique. So I'm stamping right onto that grip mat, that cushion, and I'm going to do it twice because I learned by experiment that it's very faint if you don't really do this a couple times. Okay, and then quickly lay a piece of cardstock. And I'm going to ink this up again because I want it to be stamped on both sides. And then we just press this down really well. I've lost my little, I mean it's here somewhere, but I can't find my little press tool. So I'm using my sleeve. Okay, and hopefully we have a pretty nice, I mean it's not absolutely 100% perfect, but it's pretty darn good. And it's in the same exact position so that now I can go to my layered butterfly die, which coordinates with this stamp set, and I can cut this out and it'll cut out on both sides. Okay, and there's that little coordinating die, and I just sent it through the die cutter. That's the right way, and then there's the flip side. So that's pretty darn good. Mirror stamping. Okay, let's dress this up now. I have grabbed Morning Mist, VersaFine Claire, and my definition of the word love stamp from Love and Roses. I think I'll do it this way. Just, it's like a nice soft gray, and we will kind of just go across the bottom here. Pretty. And you can do it again, which I will. Now I gotta get my head over here, so sorry. Okay, and you can keep going up, of course, which I think I will. Sorry for my head. Okay. Okay, very nice. So you still get the background, you can still see it through that gray. And that's going to dry a little bit lighter, which is nice. And then I grabbed Distress Oxide Worn Lipstick. I don't typically like to ink or stamp too much with this just because it's a little chalky looking. I am waiting for my order. It's going to be at least another month yet. All the new VersaFine Claire ink pads. I ordered all of them. And a lot of them are in nice soft shades, so looking forward to getting those. Okay, so I have stamped this Fancy Flourish here. Yeah, the Worn Lipstick, it's an okay shade for this. It could have been a little softer. It looks a little pinky pink, but that's okay because that's going to coordinate with my little flower. All right, and of course we have our little butterfly that's going to cover that area, so we might want to do just a little more stamping here. From the same stamp set, I'm going to grab this clock. Now I'm going to use Shady Lane, which is sort of a compatible green here. And you see I'm not going with, you know, Specimen and all the typical things. I'm trying to be a little bit different here. So we could do this up here, a little overlapping. Pretty. And it needs just a little more something. I grabbed from my Travel and Postage stamp set, CS352. I'm going to grab this postage stamp. And we'll do a little bit of that and stick with the green. I wanted it to be a little soft and feminine, so we'll just do a little of that down here. Great, and then the bottom part of that flower stamp we'll put over here. Okay, lovely. And then we need to add some color to our butterfly, I think. Okay, I'm going to use a little bit of my little watercolor palette over here and a water brush. Just very softly kind of paint in some color to my butterfly here. Okay, while my butterfly is drying, I did the other side. Put that aside for now. I'm going to do a little inking. And this time I'm using frayed burlap. I don't want to go like super heavy with the vintage photo. Just enough to add a little vintage touch, but not really grungy vintage. So okay, I did a little something to the back. I like that a little better, but that is still going to be the back because I want to show you what I'm going to do to the front because I'm still bothered by that. But let's get it assembled and then I'll show you my solution. So I have this all ready to go. I've got my little like olivey green layer. I've got my double-sided tape and we just want to put our little slide in here. Okay, and we know that that little angle cut, that's going to be over here where we have to kind of camouflage it. There's also a teeny tiny little bit of like a leaf or something in there. So it's all right. We're going to cover it up. Okay, there we go. Press that down. We got our little gap there. That's okay. Glue this down. Okay, just have my butterfly laid there for a moment, but what I'm going to do here is I fussy cut this little pretty cluster of a flower and some leaves from one of my papers. It's one of my favorites. And I'm going to put that down here. So if the butterfly is there, I'm going to squeak this under here, and this will sort of camouflage that kind of muddy pink stamped area that I'm not fond of. And then this guy, we're just going to put a little bit of glue at the bottom and then out here at this wing because that's not going to show on the other side. And we'll put it right about there. And then from the other side, we do see the little butterfly. That's kind of cute. Okay, so that one is done. Okay, we'll do another one real quick. I've got this one pretty much finished anyway. I've done some stamping on this pretty paper. This stamp is from David's beautiful new stamp set, CS345, the stitched borders. I also did a stamping of the stitch and the florals in the green there, and then this is from an older stamp set from Esther, as well as In My Garden. So I have that all ready to go. I've got some pink cardstock here. I'm going to adhere this to. I have my little girl here, also a stamp from Esther, a little older. I just stamped it on some light, very light pink cardstock, and I stamped it with gray, and then I just kind of colored it in with my watercolors. So she's been sitting there to dry. I also stamped out the word filed from one of Esther's older sets. So I just need to get this put together. And this one will be done. Okay, so that's how that looks so far. And the back, I just did the die cut. I didn't do any additional stamping because this paper is so pretty. I'm just going to leave it like that. So on here, just to finish it out, I'm going to take that word filed, pop that on there, and then I'll put my little girl on there as well. So I think I want filed down here. And my girl here. Now a little tiny bit of her is going to show through here. So you just have to decide, does that bother you? Do you need to cover it up on the other side? That's always a solution. And that might be what I will do. Let's see, her little face. So her head comes in over here. So you can come way over here if you're worried about it, but I kind of like the idea of her being right there. And she's kind of hanging off a little bit over there. And so if I really wanted to, I could put something there, but I think I'm fine with it. It doesn't bother me at all. So that's a third one done. Now we should do one that doesn't have the completely see-through specimen slide opening like that, just so you can work with fussy cuts and things like that. Okay, so this time I want to use this pretty one here, but like I said before, it's one that's fussy cut, so we don't want to really look at the back side of that. So I think this time what we'll do is we'll change up to this smaller postage stamp die, and I have cut from the same paper. I have cut the same base size as I did earlier, which was the 3 5/16 by 4 3/8. And the idea is that this will go in the middle, just like before. But then the back side will be this really pretty compatible imagery. So we'll leave that plain like that, and this is what we'll work on. So I got the smaller postage stamp die. I'm going to make a little window here, just like before, without the postage stamp big piece this time. And if we take a look at this sitting on here like this, it doesn't really stand out very well, you know, because it's blue on blue. So instead, I'm going to put this grid paper behind here, and then it stands out very nicely here. But let's do some stamping on this layer first. Okay, so I've grabbed this really pretty rose stamp from my Love and Roses set, and I'm inking it up with a blue that's very similar to the blue in our paper coming up. And I'm just going to do a little stamping over here with that one. Beautiful. And then I also grabbed my bee and the crown, which I think we'll do that in black. At least the bee we'll do in black. I think we need to have a little bit of red somewhere, but we'll work that in a moment. All right, so we have our bee down here, and then our crown we'll put over our bee. Okay, a little scrap left over from the mini album I just created. If you missed that, I do have a YouTube video promoting that class right now. Just check my channel. So I grabbed a rickrack border die from my Borders and Trims, and that little scrap of that red. We want to work in just a little bit of red, so we're going to die cut those scraps. I had a wide piece, so I'm going to use 2 skinny pieces together. Got 2 little borders there, and then I have these little extra bits. Of course, I'll save those. I won't throw those away. They might come into play later. Okay, I've got adhesive on the back of there. I'm ready for this piece. I just have to trim it down. Okay, we have that in place, and now we can put this in place, which looks funny from this side, but that's our red grid paper. I don't think there's any need to put adhesive here, but I'm going to put a little dot just so something's holding it in the middle slightly. And I will check this from the front to make sure my grid lines are kind of straight before I press too hard. Looks pretty good. Okay. Okay, and then this can go on here next. We'll put our little rickrack on here just for that touch of red. Looks good, and I did ink the edges of this, believe it or not. Put the other piece at the bottom corner here. I don't know what it is about rickrack, I just like it so much. And then I just feel like I want to put something up here at the top, but I don't want to do any stamping really. So I have this little banner piece, and I think I'm going to put it right there. Kind of cream colored paper. Whoops. Okay, now you could do more. You could absolutely do more. You could put a little shimmer pen in here if you wanted to, but I think I'm pretty happy with that one. And it's beautiful on the back, of course. So that's how we would work with one that doesn't see through to the other side. All right, this time I think we're going to go with a circle just to be different. And I have already picked out my papers. I'm going to use this pink as my background. I've got this fern green, and then I have a circle. This is from the Artist Trading Coin die set from David. I'm going to cut that opening with that. I want my little polka dot paper to go behind there because this is the specimen that I'm going to use, and it really doesn't look great from the back side. So this is again one of those where we're just going to put it where we can't see the back. So I have to die cut this hole first. Okay, and I've discovered that this is probably not going to look too good because this flower sort of just gets lost on this white background. It looks great on more of a solid background like that. I don't want to pick that one though because we are already working with an olive color. So I'm going to switch to this one. And this one's so pretty. I kind of might want it on the front now, and this could be on the inside. What do you guys think? I think that's what we're going to do. All right, I think this is going to work out nicely because I've been testing it out here. Still need to trim that, of course. But I think that looks pretty good. It holds up pretty well. Okay, just need to do some stamping before things get too thick here. Okay, got to do a little something here. So I have a scrap of this notebook ruled paper, just a little extra laying over here. I'm going to run that through with a small postage stamp die, and I'm going to use my mini Misty again. I love this little guy. I just got it too. A lot of people already have had one for a long time. I have the bigger size one, but this small size sure is handy. So I've got a postage stamp die from my Travel and Postage. It's a rose, got a little bee, got a little text in there. Probably aren't going to use this whole thing, so we'll probably cut off that bottom part. So I'll ink that up and get that ready. Having a little thought here. So I grabbed a circle die that's just a little bit smaller than the coin one. This is from the stitched circles from Yosette with Elizabeth Crafts. Don't think that one's available anymore, but my thought was to break up between this teal and that olive, just break that up with just a little tiny bit of a matte. And you can see I'm inking the inside edge here a little bit. This is what we're going to see. And I'll show you what I'm thinking about. Got a little distracted. So that is the plan there, just to have that little bit of a division. I think that kind of helps this tie together a little bit. So I'm going to glue these two together and trim off that excess white cardstock. Okay. Looks good. Trimmed it out. Got my little flourish stamp here. This is a different one in the set. And I've grabbed the gray Morning Mist. I think I want to add a little bit more flourish to my background. That gray is just so nice. Put a little up here. Okay, because I think my postage stamp might be over here. Perhaps overlapping a little bit like that. Okay, so something we can do here is I can pop this back in for just a second. No, it's not in the right place. That's not the point. I just want to mask off my off-white circle so I didn't get any stamping in there. Okay, cool. All right, then we have this, and we're going to do a little bit more. I'm going to grab David's stamp again with all that scripty text. Do a little bit of light stamping in the background. What color? I'm not even going to mount it to the block. I'm just going to press a little here and there. I've used like a juniper colored ink from Close to My Heart. And I'm just going to fill in a little bit more over here. Okay, that looks good. To work in a little bit more of that pink that's going to be in our background, I'm just taking a water-based marker, a nice soft pink. I'm going to color in my little rose here. You can do a little bit of shading with a little darker color if you like. And while I'm at it, I might as well color in some of these leaves. It's a very similar juniper-y kind of green color, just to kind of tie in with our paper. All right, before we get too much further layering things on, I think I'm going to go ahead and get my little flower back here and that olive colored paper. So first we'll get this right about center with the flower, I think. Okay, then we can cut away this excess. Alrighty, that's how it looks so far. Looks good. So this is layered up quite a bit here, and this is not. So I'm going to take just a scrap of cardstock just to give that a little more thickness right there and glue that. So this is a little more level when we go to glue it down onto our base paper. Otherwise, I think it would be a little bit wonky, a little bumpy. So just enough to level that out. I think that's going to do the job. Make sure this is the right direction. And just checking, make sure we don't like that better. I like that better. You never know sometimes. Like I wonder, do you ever do that? You do a die cut or you do a fussy cut or you punch something out on one side of the paper you think that you wanted and then you see it from the other side and then you change your mind. I've done that so much, especially when I used to use graphic 45 paper. So I'm curious if that's ever happened to you. Okay, looks good. Lovely. Snip that off at the bottom there. And I want it to overlap just a little bit up into our circle. Looks good. And it needs just a little something else, doesn't it? I did grab those Stampers Anonymous stamps again. Just put a little number up here, I believe. Let's see. We can do it straight. Kinda. All right, that's good. And then the word filed. Where are we going to put that? I want to put something on its side. I think I'll put it here. Okay, looks good. And then I grabbed the die of this fern that goes with my layered butterfly set, and I want to ink it a little bit down, a little more green, so that we can maybe work that in here somewhere, because I feel like it's just sort of blank there, a little too squared off. Let's grab some green peeled paint, I think. We'll just kind of pounce some more green on there just to darken it up a bit. Now, did I have to use pattern paper? Not necessarily. I just had a scrap laying here, and I do like that there's some pattern going on in it instead of just being a solid piece of cardstock. So I'm going to cut this apart and get this on here. Ooh, that's pretty, huh? All right, let's just put the finishing touches on this one. I cut little bits apart and kind of practiced where I think they should go. I got this little tiny piece I'm going to have coming up here. And then I've got my little swirly guy here. And we'll let him overlap a little bit up there. Cute. And then this last little piece I think I want to put down here. So I think I'll put that there. Scooch that, whoopsie, scooch it down a little. Okay, cool. Well, that was a lot of fun today. I hope you enjoyed that. I have 5 different ones here. Of course, we have our original vintage one. It's kind of cool. And then our colorful, more feminine ones. These are going to be great in my junk journal, I believe. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you give it a try. And I thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time in the next crafty video.